I just need to, I need to see what's going on. So good afternoon, everyone. I'll say everyone over here. This is the town hall meeting on student fees. Today we'll be discussing student fees that we'll be charging for school year 18-19, starting with the fall semester, next semester. My name is Scott Jordan. I'm the Executive Vice President for Administration and Chief Financial Officer here at the university. I'm joined by Jeremy Teitelbaum, the university's provost.
Hi, everybody.
And
Is this on? Is this working?
it's not working.
Yes, it is.
No. Do you know what a provost is? Jeremy can tell you his job.
So the provost is I am the person, so the chief academic officer of the university, which means that the deans of all the schools and colleges report up to me, and then I report to the president. So Scott runs all the administrative functions of the university, and I'm in charge of all of the academic functions of the university. So
We can answer any of your questions on fees or just about any other questions you might have today.
within limits.
That's right. We're here today to talk about our fee proposal for next fall. Last spring, the president convened a fee committee, and this was once every few years. A group is pulled together at the university, and I'll find the section on this, to take a look at student fees from top to bottom, all of the mandatory student fees that we charge, and ask ourselves, are these fees necessary? Do they support important services at the university? Are we transparent? Is there a level of simplicity to the structure that students can understand and families paying tuition can understand? And are we doing our best to be affordable? And so you convened this committee. I chaired the committee. There were members of student government. There were faculty and staff. And supported largely by our provost's office and our Department of Planning and Budget. We literally went through about a dozen meetings, fee by fee, and asked ourselves those questions. We were guided by some core principles. Again, affordability is topmost in mind, that we don't want to charge students fees for things that are not necessary or that we're not being efficient in spending those dollars. Second, simplicity and transparency, very important. We should be very clear what the fees are for. It should be easily understood, and we should be transparent about them. And third is that the fees be adequate. That is that for those services that we are convinced that we need to provide and that students need, we need to charge enough to support those fees. The good news here on the history of student fees at the university is that since 2014, we've not raised them. And when we talk about fees in this context, we're talking about those mandatory fees, the student activity fee, the general university fee, the student government fee, technology fee, the infrastructure fee. The only fee that we have increased over the last 5 years has been the transportation fee, and that was to finance the new UPass program. Again, simplicity and transparency being important, we partnered with the state of Connecticut to provide statewide bus service for university students, including a new express bus from Hartford to Storrs. Our share of that cost was about $40 per student, so we put a $20 per semester fee on, and because of that fee, there's access for all UConn students for a free bus pass that allows you to travel without additional costs throughout the state. We hope that's been a success, and I don't know if folks in this room, does everybody have their UPass, and are you using it? That's great. That's what it's for, and I'm glad that it's working for you.
So the only comment I was going to make for those of you that aren't experts in this is that FY15 means academic year 14-15. FY18 means academic year 17-18.
So you can tell that the budget office put this together because the F is in FY is fiscal, so that's fiscal year. It happens that our fiscal year and our academic years are the same, but
they're labeled by the end, not the beginning.
That's right. That's right. So where am I here? So this is very small. So I will work through it quickly, but this is a good reference. And we do have copies of this slide presentation up front if you want to, we can pass them back, or you can take one on the way out. But slide 5 is really the summary, and I will sort of skim past this and hit the major points separately. First is that the fee committee took a look at the way that the university's fees interact with our tuition, and we came to a consensus that students at UConn should pay one tuition, that we should not have differential tuition. Some universities do charge a different tuition by school or by major. We don't believe in that here.
So it is absolutely true that different majors cost different amounts to provide. You know, people who take molecular biology need different resources than people who take English majors, but we charge the same amount to all students on the grounds that partly we don't want people choosing their field of study on the basis of cost, but also because it tremendously complicates your academic program if you have to make decisions, if you change majors or take different courses and move in and out from different programs, and there's a different cost associated with that. It affects advising, and it causes people to play all kinds of strategic games. So from the point of view of the academic program, it's not a good idea. So this is one of these simplicity and transparency programs that everybody pays the same.
And towards that end, as we looked at all the fees the university charges, we found that there are a number of departments and programs that do in fact charge a major fee, which looks an awful lot like differential tuition to us. For those in landscape architecture, maritime studies, drama, business, nursing, music, and digital media and design, by selecting those majors currently, you do pay more than folks in other departments do. And so the first major proposal of our fee committee is to eliminate those fees, and that the university, through its central budgeting process, so these fees only generate about $300,000 a year university-wide. The university's budget's over $1.3 billion now across Storrs and Regional Campuses. And then we think it's reasonable, given our policy stance that we don't charge differential tuition, that the university fund the departments that receive these fees as part of their base budget, tuition-based budget, to make up that lost amount. And so our first proposal is to eliminate major fees. Our second proposal is to eliminate academic materials fees. Under the same philosophy as we just talked about, the academic materials fees, which are often, did I go to that one yet? I did. The numbers on this are actually, you know, you've had course fees, I'm sure, in courses that you've taken, but when you take it on the whole, 11,000 university students pay course fees. There are 18,000 separate bills generated because of these fees, and these are largely lab fees and consumables fees in classes. But they are rampant. It isn't just labs. It isn't just art classes or others that have consumables. It really is across the university that there's 170 separate courses that charge these fees, and they do generate an awful lot of back office business activity. If you can think of a student who starts a semester in some classes and maybe drops one or two and adds one or two, that could say, let's say you drop two classes that have one fee and add two that have a different fee. That's 4 separate changes to your bill. I have a student here at the university, my son's a senior, and I know when he changes classes, my phone buzzes each time because I get a new text message that the bill has been changed, and I've got to go, and pay it. And we think that's just annoying, honestly. We're nickel and diming students over fees that are $20, $50, $75. Across the whole university, this generates about $400,000 a year, and we think by eliminating those fees, not only are we keeping to this principle that our students do not pay different costs depending on what program they pay, we also think this will pay for itself in administrative savings, and so we're very comfortable eliminating this fee. We also looked at the general university fee. The GUF is the fee that is the largest fee at the university. It is a consolidated fee that pays for most of the student activity and student support services at the university. It's important for you to know that that fee stays on only those programs. The university does is pretty pure about maintaining budget integrity around our fee structure. Tuition and state dollars pay for what happens in the classroom and for the maintenance and care of our campuses. Tuition and state dollars don't pay for the Career Center, for Jorgensen, for the marching band, the things that are listed on this slide. The general university fee pays for those. And likewise, the general university fee does not pay for the maintenance of the campus or for professor salaries. So we're pretty clear about that. But towards simplicity again and transparency, we are recommending that the largest share of the general university fee, the fee for the amount that goes to student health services, you can see on this slide, that's about 12 million of 39 million that's collected into the general university fee. We are proposing that that be broken out into a separate new fee. Of the general university fee, which is $1,914 per year, right? Yeah, for undergraduates. I want to make sure that wasn't first semester. But of that amount, $580 per year supports student health services. Again, because that is important, it demands a certain amount of simplicity and transparency on its own, and because it's very different from the other activities that are funded by the general university fee. We think it ought to be on its own and make it clear to undergrads that $580 of their fees go to student health services. So we're proposing that that be a separate fee. Again, we are not proposing increasing any fees this year. So what we are proposing is that the general university fee be reduced by $580 and that this new fee be created at $580 for a total cost of $1,914 a year. We also have some other recommendations around how the fees are administered. The students at regional campuses, not in Storrs, also pay a general university fee. That fee has depended on location of campus and program and is varied. Some students are paying $74, some are paying $112. That is substantially less than Storrs students pay, but regional students at regional campuses have substantially less access to those student services that are funded by the general university fee. And we were guided by a principle of access, not use. So it is often the case that students will say, or in broader society, taxpayers will say, I don't think I should pay for this thing because I don't use it. But we are guided by a principle of accessibility. And so what we would say is, well, you have access to, say, the rec center or student health services. And so these are shared services that we all pay for. When we think about regional campuses, students at regional campuses, there are some things in the general university fee, in fact most, that they don't have access to, including student health services here in Storrs, most of the athletics programs and rec programs here in Storrs and our rec center in Storrs. And so it is a substantially lower fee. We are proposing that we normalize that fee at $112 for all regional students, and so there are some students in some programs that will see a slight increase in that fee. And we are also proposing, and I think this is the biggest proposal of this section, that 75% of that general university fee generated at the regional campuses be returned to the regional directors for local control, that regional student governments and regional student activities working with the campus leadership at those campuses should decide what to do with those dollars, rather than have them paid into Storrs and be treated like a central budget item to be returned back as needed. We think that local control is important on this. And then on this, the last section of our examination of student fees, we think that there is a reasonable amount of governance currently with regard to the general university fee through the student activity and service fee advisory committee, what gets called by some SASFAC here on campus. This is a group that is run through the Vice President for Student Affairs, and has always governed the use of the general university fee. And we want to continue that and to broaden their mission to include all mandatory fees at the university. So it's clear that there is a place for students and others who have concerns about where fee money goes, how much is charged, that there is a process for hearing people. We also think that there ought to be a higher level of oversight that up till now has been informal. That is, the president, provost, and I are responsible ultimately for these and most other things that happen at the university. But we propose that we create an executive student fee committee composed of us and any others that we need to join us to provide a formal process for review of fees that may or may not come through this sort of student activities fee committee. And there have been some examples in the past of fee proposals that have not found a good home for review that we want to make sure that we have a clear process for. And so the bottom line is that the proposal that the university administration, upon the recommendation of the fee committee that was convened last spring, will be making to the university's Board of Trustees on February 21st, I think is our board meeting, February 21st, is that we not raise student fees this year, that we provide some additional simplicity to the fee structure and more transparency by breaking out the student health services portion of the GUF, and that we eliminate major fees and academic materials fees. And so that is our fee proposal for this year that we'll recommend to the board. Are there any questions about these fees? Yeah?
So just to double check, it says Storrs-based undergraduate students will not see increased mandatory fees. Is it the same for graduate students? There will also not be increased fees for them?
That's right. So the question was, and I know we're streaming today and we didn't give you a microphone, so I'll try to repeat it as best I can. You asked whether, to be clear, Storrs-based undergraduates will not see a fee increase next year. And is that also true for graduate students? And the answer is yes. We are not proposing increased fees for undergraduates or graduate students at Storrs. In fact, most students will see their total fee bill go down because we're proposing eliminating the materials fees and the major fees. And just because I'm a budget guy and want to be super precise about it, there are some students in some programs at the regionals that will see their bill go up by, I think it's, if I do the subtraction right, I think it's $38, is that right, per year, just because we want to make, for simplicity's sake, charge the same for everybody. And those are those that were at $74 and will go to $112, right? Yes, I think there's another question.
Yeah, okay, so I have two questions. I was wondering if you could give some examples of fees that might go to this new executive committee you were talking about.
Sure, I think, and there was examples of fees. There are some universities that will charge a separate fee, and usually this is in response to budget cuts. Like nobody proposes a fee if things are going well with their budget, but some universities will charge, let's say a library fee. Now, we don't do that here, but let's say we had a big budget cut and there was, and the library said, we would like to charge a library fee. Lots of libraries charge library fees. Currently, there's not a formal process for that proposal. And so what we are saying is that we want to give a place for that proposal to be heard and decided.
Although, just to be clear, there is no such proposal.
There
It's
is,
pure
that's right.
hypothetical.
That's right. There's no such proposal, that's right, that's right.
And so would this committee also handle something like the visa compliance fee that was proposed? Or?
Yes, when that was originally proposed, it was handled within the president's cabinet, which is largely the same people, but there was not a formalized process for review like we would like to do going forward.
And I just have another question. Is there any update on the rec center?
Sure. Well, the question is there an update on the rec center fee? Yes, I can tell you that the rec center fee is there's no change in what has been proposed or what we expect to do with the rec center fee. The new University Rec Center, which by the way is going to be a beautiful building with programs that the university currently doesn't have, and accessible and hopefully a real hub of activity for everybody, is well underway and is that construction project that's across from the bookstore. The total project or construction cost for that is about $100 million. We expect it to be open in the fall of 2019. We have committed since the day this project was conceived, which was before any of us were here, I think. This is probably 4 or 5 years ago. You were, so Jeremy,
I had a different job.
that the students at that time advocated for this, working through student government, student rec, and directly to the president and our board of trustees even. And we committed to do it. We also committed that no student who couldn't use it would pay for it. And so what we're expecting is that the doors will open for the fall of 2019, that the cost of the debt service, we borrowed money to build it, and we will be paying the money back over the next 30 years, that the cost of the payments for the building plus the expense to operate the building will be about $250 per semester per student, and that we will, beginning in the fall of 2019, charge a rec center fee of $500 a year or $250 per semester. That's right. And graduates would be at 400. That would be graduate students would pay a lower fee. So are there any other questions on this part of the proposal? We're also at our Board of Trustees meeting on February 21st going to be considering some small changes to other fees at the university. UConn sets its tuition and its room and board in 4-year increments, and we're currently operating under a 4-year tuition plan and a 4-year room and board plan that is, and this is not a year for consideration of those. But we do have a couple of tweaks that we will be making or proposing to be made to our housing fees for fall of 2019. The first is that there are on campus right now 48 apartments that have 2 bedrooms and only 2 people in them, and we don't have a differentiated fee for those apartments, and those are pretty good. You know, I guess if you have a 2-bedroom with only 2 people in it, that is worth a little bit more, and we're proposing raising the cost for those. So those apartments are currently priced as 2-bedroom, 4 people. So if you get a single in one of these apartments under this proposal, you'll pay a little bit more. And the second, and in a similar vein, is that our new Stanford campus apartments were not part of the original 4-year plan. So we just set rates for them last year, and we need to put them on that track, that 4-year track, and across the university. We're expecting room rates next year to go up by 3%, I think. For Stanford housing, we've had such great demand for our most premium apartments, and these were originally designed and built as luxury private sector apartments, and the university entered into an agreement with the developer to lease those apartments for our students, and these are very nice with granite countertops and stainless steel appliances and all of the things you'd see in a luxury apartment. And to our surprise, the very nicest apartments, the penthouse apartments, and these are the top floor real penthouse apartments in Stanford, sold out first. And so we are proposing increasing the rates for those very premium apartments by a little bit more. I think we're talking about, instead of a 3% increase, a 4% increase for those. So we're differentiating by quality a little more in Stanford. So those are the only 2 proposals that we have to increase housing rates next year. And again, this is about consistency with the rest of our housing plan, not about raising rates across the board. And then the last proposal that we have that we'll be putting before our board at the next board meeting has to do with academic fee-based programs. And these are programs that are not part of the rest of the university's tuition structure. They are 100% self-supporting, and I don't know, Jeremy, if you want to characterize like who goes to these and what the programs are for.
I mean, these tend to be I mean, you can see the list of them up there. They're almost all in the business school. They are kind of professional programs that they're relatively recently constructed, so they're organized differently financially. So students, people don't pay regular tuition, they pay fees. And I guess there's a proposal to raise the fees a little bit on those programs.
And these are 100%, as I said, self-supporting. No undergraduate tuition dollars, no state dollars go to support these programs. These are largely professional programs.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, they're run as money-making operations for the school.
In fact, yeah, they help subsidize the rest of what we do. And they are largely, they're competitive with private universities programs. You can see our executive MBA program is a $78,000 a year program, and that is in line with what private executive MBA programs charge. And truth is, these are very popular, mostly professionals, mid-year or mid-career folks on weekends and nights taking these programs, often paid by their employers. And so popular that we had to lease 2 more floors in the building where they're being operated in Hartford. This is a program that's run in one of the downtown skyscrapers in Hartford, and it's very, very popular. And so we evaluate the prices for the programs every year and against market, and if we think we can raise them, we do.
They're all graduate programs.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, I have just another clarifying question. The first thing in that list is all other graduate certificate programs. I know that there's some interdisciplinary certificates in the graduate school. Can you give me an example of what those programs are or what they aren't, whatever's easier?
These are specific just to business school.
So these are, and I'm,
So there's like a certificate in real estate.
So business school only?
Yeah.
Okay,
school only, that's right.
thank you.
And that's our presentation. Again, to summarize, no increase no increase proposed for mandatory student fees this year, elimination of academic materials fees and major fees, and a slight change to some of our more premium housing options at the university, and market-based increases to our business school professional executive programs. We think it's a good proposal. I think affordability is very important to us, simplicity, again, and transparency. So if you have any other questions, we look forward to them. If there are questions folks may have, we are streaming today. Feel free to email me or Jeremy, and we'd be happy to get back to you. Thank you.
Any other questions?